So, Steve, with the team launch announcements, I'm still feeling quite optimistic of the MotoGP season. At least I was feeling optimistic. And then we had the announcement earlier this week, or end of last week, I guess, with the change to the calendar already.
Yes. I started seeing some posts on Instagram. I was like, we're getting teased now. Everyone's starting to get to that point in the season where it's getting close. We're getting, bike releases, press releases, unveilings of the new team colours or new bikes, however you want to look at it. And it's all getting a little bit real.
Mm.
And then we get the news that we're going to have a few calendar changes. And it's like, oh, come on.
Yes. So we've had both rounds 2 and 3 of Texas and Argentina have both been postponed, haven't they? They're not cancelled.
Yeah, they're not cancelled.
But both postponed. The likelihood that we'll get over to those races, in my opinion, is very low.
Yeah.
But then I guess I think a lot of the the problem with cancelling versus postponing is that if MotoGP cancel the races, they owe the tracks a shitload of money.
I think so. Yes, I think they have to prepay for rights to race there, essentially.
Yeah, or is it? I think the circuit pay MotoGP, don't they, to come to the tracks? I think that's how it works. But
yeah, I think you could be right. Actually, I think the circuit has to have the show go there. Let's say.
And if MotoGP cancel, they have to give the circuit the money back.
Yeah, something along that line. Either way, it's not good news, and not very convincing that we're actually going to have more changes like last year.
Well, no, I think we're going to see a lot of changes. So we've got Qatar coming to host the first 2 rounds of the year now, haven't we? So
yes,
round 1, as it would have been at Qatar, so they'll have all the testing like we spoke about last week. Yep. And then round 1 is on the 28th of March. And then they're having round 2 of the season at Qatar as well on the 4th of April.
That bit I'm actually really looking forward to, because 2 night races will be awesome.
Yeah, that's fair. And Qatar, to be fair, it is normally quite a good show. I think Qatar is quite a good race. There's not normally anyone there, but it's normally quite a pretty good race.
I like Qatar. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I do like it. I like the whole spectacle under lights, and I like the problems that could pose, like the damp, the dew residue building up. Just a little bit. I like the lights. I like the fact that the track looks good under the spotlights.
Yeah,
it's different. It's that difference, and it's been the season opener for a long time, and it's something we build up to. And if that gets moved, like it did last year, I know we had Moto3, Moto2 there, but you start changing it, and it's just like, oh, fuck it. But
it is quite a spectacle, actually, to open the season with, wasn't it? Because I was just thinking then, as you were describing it, I was like, I wonder if it just feels so good because it's the first race of the year. But actually, I don't think Jerez last year felt as good as the season opener. I think Qatar is a really good season opener because, like you say, it's a spectacle. It's a stunning track. Exactly. It looks amazing from the air. It looks amazing from the onboards. The colours of the bikes look so good under the spotlights.
They do. And it throws up like the different kind of scenarios for the riders where all of a sudden you've got this massive dark shadow underneath you.
Yeah.
As you're dropping into a corner and you don't know if it's a shadow, it's a bike. It's different.
Yes.
And, the second that the flag drops at Valencia, we're like, right, Qatar.
Yeah.
And it's coming. But yes, with all the unveilings happening, we know dates. We've got dates for Ducati unveiling, Yamaha unveiling.
Yeah, Ducati are unveiling on the 9th of February, Yamaha on the 15th of February. I don't think anyone else has announced, have they? But that will be Ducati and all their satellite teams, and Yamaha and all their satellite teams.
Yeah, so the others will come. They won't be far away because they're going to start shipping things and moving things and thinking about.
Yeah, we'll certainly know soon enough. And I mean, we've already seen pretty much the Repsol livery, haven't we? Because we've seen Paul Espargaro and a lot of photos of him on the Repsol bike in the Repsol gear. And let's be fair, the Repsol livery doesn't really change that much. I know there was rumours that Repsol might not even be the key sponsor this year, but those rumours seem to have dried up. So
yeah, they seem to have just died a death. All of a sudden, we got the few sort of little snippets. About a month ago? That just said, oh, they're going to drop out and be a different sponsor. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, that's just died a death. I did see somewhere, I can't remember what it was. I think it was on Instagram, of a shot of Marquez on the new bike. In colours. But I could be wrong. It could be pulp. Because I remember just flicking through. I was doing something at the time. But I want to get the Honda unveiling done. I really am looking forward to the Honda unveiling because I want to know how he is going to sort of come across at that unveiling.
Yeah, that's fair because he's going to be there, isn't he? No matter
Yeah.
what.
He'll have to be there because he's still a signed rider.
Yeah, he'll definitely be there. But yeah, you're right. I wonder how it will be, whether he will be very vocal about the fact that he will plan on riding this year, or whether it's going to be a bit up in the air, whether anyone will get to question him, or whether he'll come out on the stage, pull the sheet off the bike, and then fuck off again.
I think he'll be there. I think the press will probably be pre-warned. Don't ask.
Yeah, I imagine so.
I think they'll all be given strict instructions. You know, we're all concentrate on his recovery, blah, blah, blah. Don't ask the question.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. But while we're talking about season changes as well, before we start diving too deeply into Marc Marquez, we also know that Portimao is confirmed for the third round of the year, isn't it? On the 18th of April.
That's going to be absolutely awesome. I'm so looking forward to that.
The problem is, though, and I think we've got problems with these first three rounds, is we are aware there are rumours circulating or starting to circulate on there that Qatar might not even, the situation in Qatar might not be okay. Like that, they might still get cancelled. And that's all the testing as well. If they get done, the testing gets cancelled as well.
Yeah, you know, it's the season opener. It's the first hurdle to get through. If anything's going to be cancelled off the hip, it's going to be this.
Yeah.
You know, we don't know what the situation is. This one will be the first one to really hit us hard, like it did last year. You know, we're really looking forward to Portimao, but Portugal's in lockdown.
Yeah, I've got friends in Portugal. I was talking to them the other day, and they say they've been in lockdown for about a week now, and I don't know when they're supposed to be coming out of lockdown, and whether Portimao and that whole round could be affected. I mean, it could. So.
There's so much up in the air still. I mean, I think personally we're in a far worse position than we were this time last year.
I mean, it certainly feels that way.
Yeah, whether that's true or not, that's just my personal opinion. But, you know, this time over here for us, I saw in the news earlier on in the UK, it was a year today, first hospitalizations for COVID or confirmed cases, and the first flights returned from Wuhan into the UK.
Yeah, it's been we've had quite a number of stats come out, haven't we, over the last few days of what's been going on and things. None of them make for pretty reading, sadly.
No, they bloody don't. You know, things were just starting to kick off over here this time last year, whereas now we're in full swing of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Which doesn't hold me in great hope that if this season's going to run smoothly, should we say.
Sadly, all the countries in the world that are really handling COVID very well either don't have a lot of motorsport going on internationally, or their borders are so tightly closed that there's very little chance we get in for racing there anyway.
I know. I did hear that like Thailand is they've got the least case of all, and they've just like almost demolished it.
Yeah, that's true of a lot of that part of the world, to be fair. A lot of Asia, a lot of that part of the world have really knuckled down and nailed it. And then the rest of us have not. Anyway, Steve, let's
not talk about the old Rona.
Yeah, let's pull ourselves back from the edge there. So I'm Tim, he's Steve, and this is For the Love of MotoGP. So let's dive in properly to the show, Steve, and have a quick chat about Marc Marquez, because we've seen that he has been posting photos of his return to training, as it is.
Yep, again.
Once more.
Once again, he's back in the gym. I was happy to see him in the gym. Don't get me wrong. He's still got that bionic arm thing on.
He still looks like the biker mice from Mars.
He does, yeah. Robocop's weird little brother.
Robocop's weird little... That might be my favourite nickname for Marc Marquez ever. I think maybe we should get rid of the ant off his helmet and just have a Robocop head there.
He's just indestructible, this boy. If he comes back for this, he definitely needs a Robocop up there. Anywho, yeah, I personally think he looks, I don't know, quite thin.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly still is shredded. Like, he certainly it puts you and I to shame with our physiques.
Oh, absolutely.
But he has lost a lot of muscle mass. That's quite clear. He's not put on fat. He's not done a Jorge Lorenzo, who clearly hasn't been training recently and has got the bit of the Maradona belly going on. But Marquez has clearly not put on any fat, but has lost a lot of muscle mass, which I guess is to be expected.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can't train with the intensity that these guys do, and it's gonna drop quite quickly. I would imagine his BMI was changing pretty rapidly.
Yes,
but obviously they'll have dietitians and nutritionists, and he will have looked after himself in some form or other.
Oh, certainly. He's certainly still fitter than I could ever hope to be.
Yeah, exactly. But in MotoGP fitness level terms, he's definitely got a long way to go before he's full fitness.
Oh, 100%. He's nowhere near, even if his arm right now was okay and he could swing his leg over a MotoGP bike and go, he'd be nowhere near race fit at this point.
No.
Not a chance. And it's probably, you would imagine, and with especially the elite level athletes that these guys are, just taking a few weeks off can set you back months in your fitness.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, he could be an entire season away from being race fit at this point.
Absolutely. I mean, look at some of the training people we go on about a lot, like Aleix does with his cycling, his skiing.
Yeah.
I say every single day. And just look ripped.
And you see like Scott Redding, don't you, cycling like 200 kilometers a day up and down mountains and things like.
Yeah, I saw a post the other day. He was going somewhere and he's asking if someone's got a road bike he could borrow. I was like, Jesus.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. I quite like that he does that. He's like, right, I'm just going to utilise my massive follower base here because I can't bother to ship my bike over to where I'm going. So anyone over there want to lend me theirs?
Yeah, why not? Good on him.
Exactly.
Yeah, he did have a cracking post the other day. He was after a sock sponsor. I just showed you pictures of his feet with virtually no toes sticking out of everywhere. I need a sock sponsor.
I also think he can probably afford some new socks, to be fair.
I think he probably could, but why not? I just thought it was one of the best posts. Good old Scotty.
Maybe we should try that, Steve.
What?
Maybe we should try doing that. Just posting pictures of our feet, being like, we need some socks. No, actually, socks are the one thing that Christmas has just been, so I'm pretty well stocked for socks for a little while.
I was going to say I am pretty much loaded with new pants and socks. I'm all good.
Yeah, exactly. You know it's been a good Christmas when you've got new pants and socks.
Yeah, when you put everything away and you can't shut that drawer, you know it's been a good haul.
It's funny because I tend to, as you're aware, I kind of bounce around a lot. I tend to only bring like one backpack's worth of clothes with me. So up until Christmas, I'm like, oh shit, I'm really running low on pants and socks. I need to do some washing. Now, since Christmas, I'm like, shit, I'm running out of t-shirts, but I've got loads of pants and socks left. This is weird.
So, right, we need a t-shirt sponsor.
Yeah, that was my long-winded way of saying we need a t-shirt sponsor. Nah, that's not what it was at all.
Fuck it, send us some free stuff.
Brilliant. So
I said that in a while.
Yeah, it's not really worked that often before either, so let's not get our hopes up too much.
I'm hold my breath. I'm going to get a massive delivery of t-shirts land on my door.
Yeah, well, you got to hope they're not from Europe, mate. I had a parcel try to arrive from Europe the other day. It was 200 euros worth of electronics being sent from Germany, and it was going to cost me £100 import fees to get it from UPS from the back of their van to my front door because of Brexit, because of import fees. So I was like, nah, mate, you can send that back. I'm not having it.
Yeah, that's annoying. I bought some stuff from the US, and I know it's different. The import tax, I always forget.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
I just literally forget. I'm on there, like, yeah, I'll have that. Dollars, what's that in pounds? Lovely. Bit more for shipping because it's coming a long way.
Yeah.
Take a few pictures of the Titanic on the way past. And it gets here and it's like, here's the bill. It's like, what fucking bill? I've already paid.
Yeah.
And it's like import tax. It's like, fuck.
Yeah, it's frustrating, isn't it? But it's the weird thing because I've been obviously very used to that not being the case with Europe, and it's just another part of the. Anyway, I'm not getting into that. I'm not talking about Brexit. So let's talk about Marquez some more. If Marquez isn't back at the start of the year, which I'm very convinced he won't be, who do we think is going to replace him, Steve? Who's going to be there to run those early few races in his stead?
Or my head is on Dovi. Just because he's been a full-time rider for so long. I think the logical answer would probably be Bradl, because he is still a Honda test rider. So he's probably got something written in his contract, but he didn't exactly set the world on fire last year.
But towards the end of the year, he certainly started to improve, didn't he? It's almost like it took him the entire year. And this is an example of, I guess, not being race fit. It's that example, isn't it? It took him an entire year to start getting those results. And we know in the first part of the year, the bike was shit. And that was proved by all of the Hondas. But as the year went on and the bike improved, Bradl definitely stepped up as well. We know Alex Marquez scored those couple of podiums. He certainly seemed to be the stronger of the two. But actually, in those last few races, I think Bradl was quite impressive.
He did come good towards the end of the season. Everyone said like how good he looked and was rested. And Alex as well, because he really did look like he was throwing shapes with that thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does take a long time to get used to. So like I said, the logical version would be Bradl, because he's already got that association with the Honda, whereas Dovi's going to have to jump off the Duke and he's going to have to hop on the Honda and essentially learn it again. And it's not going to be anything like the Honda he rode before.
No, exactly. We've got to think, when was he on the Honda? 2011 would have been the last year, so a decade ago.
Yeah, so logically, Bradl. I would like to see what Dovi could do on it, because Dovi's come out of the woodwork with a few posts just recently saying that he's training hard, training at full steam.
Well, that's it, and even his manager Battistella has been saying, if HRC calls, Dovi is ready to go.
Yeah, but would you give someone who doesn't know the bike the chance to ride it? And like you said before we start recording, it will probably just be a race by race contract.
Oh, that's exactly what it would be, because as soon as Marquez is back, that's it, he's out the door, which kind of leads me to believe. My heart says Dovi, my head says Bradl. I'd love it to be Dovi, just because I kind of don't want Dovi to go. Dovi's still he's the good guy in the paddock, isn't he? He's the fun guy. He's not the fun guy, that's wrong, that's Jack Miller. But he's the dependable one. He's the one that's there, and he'll just get his head down, he'll get it done, and he'll work at it. But realistically, that's not going to work for 3 races, is it? Plus, he'll cost more money. They're already paying Bradl, so what does it really matter? Bradl's the one that makes sense.
Yeah, it's going to be Bradl. We could have a little bet on it now. It's always going to be Bradl, but my heart says Dovi.
There might even be a weird thing that happens where Alex Marquez ends up going to Repsol and potentially Bradl rides the LCR bike.
Yeah, that could happen. Because they're all in that kind of family.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard anyone talking about that at all. That's me just riffing on things I'd like to see. But
it's feasible. I guess it is feasible. But yeah, I haven't heard a thing about that. So we'll just start that rumour off.
You'll see this all over Crash.net later.
Yeah, GP1 boys, we got a scoop, boys.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's Bradl, isn't it? But again, it's all up in the air. We'll wait and see. What Honda announce, and we'll wait and see if the racing gets going at the end of March.
Exactly. We live in hope.
We live in hope. That's exactly it. So today's show, Steve, we are continuing our Outbound Rider series, and I guess this will be our final instalment of the Outbound Rider series. Before we start, the aptly named Inbound Rider series. I've really nailed this one.
Tim's on it.
So our final Outbound Rider episode is all about one Tito Rabat.
Mr. Rabat. I was actually really looking forward to this because I know jack shit about Tito.
Yeah, I knew very little, and to be honest, even after going through and doing a bit of research, I still feel like I know very little about him, which is it's quite interesting because I feel like he just hasn't had the same impact on the paddock as Cal and as Dovi, and as Brivio actually. So the other 3 guys we've spoken about within this series. Yeah,
I was just interested because I sort of picked Tito up roughly around his championship or last year in Moto 2.
That's exactly because I would have watched that championship year in Moto 2 2014, and would have watched him fail to defend it in 2015, and then kind of his slump into MotoGP.
Yeah, let's face it, the boy has not exactly set the world on fire. Not really had any telly time apart from when he's throwing a bike down the road. And that's it, really, which is a shame because we know doing a bit of research into him, his early career, and especially Moto 2 days, man was amazing.
I don't know. I sort of feel like his whole career sort of peaked around his championship year, and it was the 2013, 2014, 2015 was the peak of his career, and it was just quite a slow rise up to that peak, and then quite a dramatic fall from that peak.
He definitely did not suit the MotoGP sort of way of life, should we say.
No.
Got his head round Moto2 and did some wonderful things, won the championship, set a points record.
Which stood for a whole year.
Yeah, stood for 1 year. But he did it. So, it goes to show what kind of a rider he was on the Moto2 bike.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Then chuck him on a GP bike and he's just not done it. Just not done enough to sort of, like someone sit up and listen and think, right, let's actually chuck this guy on a better bike and see what he can do.
Yes, exactly. So shall we dive in as we've done the other few shows? Just go through it year by year?
Let's do it. Let's go do things Tito's way.
Tito's way. I'm sure there's a song in there somewhere.
Probably.
And I did it Tito's way.
Look at that. What a voice.
Thank you very much. I'm here all week.
All that haggis you drank last night. Ate last night even. Drank. Jesus.
Oh, Burns night was a heavy one, mate. There was a lot of haggis being eaten. And it was just beer as well. I wasn't even drinking whiskey. But I felt pretty ropey this morning.
I bet.
So I'm chilling today. And I'm just on the remnants of my out-of-date wine. I might go get a cider in the break as well. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. We'll decide when I get to the break.
I am still on the
That's some fine quality H2O, mate.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a good way to put it, but it's not. It's just, water. Just filtered because, fish make love in it.
That might be my favourite reason to filter water. I'd never thought about it before, but I feel pretty gross about all the occasions I haven't filtered water now.
Exactly.
So Tito Rabat, born 25th of May 1989, which makes him 31, 32?
32.
32.
We'll go 32.
32? 31. 31.
31.
31, yeah, 31.
Yeah.
And 2005, he made his appearance on the world stage. I, to be honest, didn't find much in my my research was quite quick and lazy today because I was doing other things, mainly being hungover.
I did do quite a bit of research. I did a lot of reading, but I spent more time trying to find out stuff from before 2005.
Okay.
I couldn't find a great deal.
Fair enough. Yeah, I didn't.
I did a lot of reading, like into the stats for each year. But then I was like, what did he do before that? Because he wildcarded in his first year. He must have done something before. I was like, fucking.
Well, exactly. He must have been racing before this. I imagine he must have been the Spanish Superbikes or the Junior World Championship route. But
something like that line. But anyway, he did a wild card in 2005.
Yeah, and that was in the final race of the year, the Valencia GP. He was riding for the BQR Honda team. It's the same team that would go on to become the Avintia team and now the Esponsorama team. So, his career in the GP paddock was full circle because that is who he rode for last year.
Yep, that has gone all the way round.
Yeah, exactly. I was pretty shocked when I found this out. But 84 separate riders competed in the 125 championship that year.
Nice.
Including wildcards, replacement riders. 84 riders were officially registered as competing. 8 of them didn't even qualify for a race. And 40 of them didn't score points at all. A lot of them were single one-off events and things. And that sort of got me, I was like, wow, is this normal? In the 125 class, this is pretty normal to have almost 90 riders every year competing at some point. And a lot of it is wildcards, is replacement rides, one-offs and things, and some people that don't qualify. But it really shocked me. I sort of wish MotoGP was like this. I wish we just had throughout the year, you got the 25 or the 22 stalwart riders, and then just have 60 randoms just turn up every now and again.
I think back then, everyone, that was 125s, RS 125s were the stalemate. You could go into a shop and buy one. You could buy a race replica. So, the Spanish Championship was all RS 125s. So, if you were racing it, you had the machine to get on track and do your wildcard.
Yeah, it seemed to be quite standardised, didn't it?
Yeah. I mean, because I can remember trying to enter the RS 125 Super Team Cup over here. And it was just, you could go out and just buy an RS 125.
It's funny, isn't it? Because you're just going to get trounced, though, if you're just going with a shop standard bike. Because if you're not
you could race spec
tuned,
it, you can buy your package for race spec.
Okay.
So it gives you more of a chance, but it was just more
accessible.
Yeah, I sort of think easily accessible than going out and buying a MotoGP bike.
Yeah, well, quite good luck going out to buy a MotoGP bike today.
Yeah, there are a few coming up at the minute.
There's the odd ones about in there. There's like the odd Desmo Sedici. There's always one or two of them kicking about. There's KTM just auctioned off a few of their RC16s, didn't they?
Yeah, there's a few going, not many. I'd love to have the money to buy one, but we don't.
The problem is though, what do you do with it? Like, I don't want to drop
polish it.
That's the problem. I don't want to drop like 6 figures on a bike that's just going to sit in my living room. I mean, it wouldn't be allowed to sit in my living room, but that's obviously not my choice. But you know, I can't ride that anywhere. I can't afford a track day. It's probably too loud for most track days.
I was going to say you'd never get it on track. What is it, 98 decibels in the UK is a track limit?
Yeah, it's something like that, isn't it? I don't know the exact, but you sound like you do, so we'll go with that.
I think it's 98. It's definitely, I forget what the road one is, but it's not much difference.
Okay.
But yeah, I wouldn't dare. Can you imagine rocking up to a track day on that, wheeling it out of the van and being like, nope, put it back?
Well, exactly. I would be the fucking muppet, mate, that I'd try and pull out a pit lane and just flip it.
Yeah.
I'd be like, watch this, boys. Yeah, that's right. This is a MotoGP bike. Oh, shit. I'm just like laying on my back and watching it fly above me.
Oh, not good. I saw a cracking clip on Facebook where someone had bought one of the new Norton V4s. Cost like thousands of pounds. Looked lovely, all done in chrome and silver.
I love the chrome colour of those, man. They're so good.
Yeah, I'll have to find the clip because the guy's like at a big bike meet. There's loads of people taking pictures and he drops it. Like a 2 mile an hour, just about to like pull away and stop, and just didn't put his foot down. Just goes, Bop.
That's 100% what I'd do. That would be me every time.
Yeah, but can you imagine how much that guy died inside?
You know, I remember doing that once on my old Kawasaki, and it was right in front of the old Bill. I was just pulling into a road to turn round, and I just dropped it. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. And they stopped, and he came over, and I was like, could you give me a hand to pick this up, mate? He's like, yeah, of course. So yeah, give me a hand to pick it up. And picked it up, and I kicked it onto the stand. I was like, oh, thanks, mate. Thank you very much. I went to shake his hand. He was like, I just need to breathalyse you now. I was like, what? Yeah. And he was like, I need to breathalyse you. I was like, oh, bloody hell, here we go. Obviously, I hadn't been drinking anything, so it was fine.
It was all good.
Yeah, exactly. That was the start of quite a long ride, although that would have been pretty stupid to start drinking at the beginning of that. But
no, I've nearly done exactly the same. I've pulled up to a set of lights in Norwich, just forgot to put the foot down, but just saved it at that last moment where you're like, fuck it.
Yeah.
But you know, when you've weaved your way, you've filtered through traffic, you've annoyed everyone because you've got right to the front and you just nearly drop it in front of everyone.
Yeah.
And all you hear behind you is like, beep, 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 wank.
Yeah. So 2006. Tito Rabat entered 2 Spanish rounds. That was Jerez and Catalonia as a wild card. I think that was rounds 1 and 7 of the year. And then midway through the season was promoted to a full-time ride. Aleix Espargaro, as it turned out, I didn't know this was a thing, but Aleix Espargaro had moved up from the 125s to the 250 class mid-season.
No, unless he was replacing someone.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know a lot about it. Part of me was tempted to dive into it and work it out, and I was like, no, I'll just save that for the Goodbye Aleix show.
Yeah, that's one for the future.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember that.
Yeah, that's it.
11 points. Yeah,
it's got 11 points across the year, 23rd overall in the standings, but only had 3 point-scoring rides. But, you know, didn't finish last, only competed in half the year, so could be worse.
Could be worse.
And to be fair, at that point, he hadn't done anywhere near a full season in World Championship riding.
No, so that was probably quite an eye-opener to come in full-time.
Yeah, and we've seen it before, haven't we? Like, we saw Quartararo come in after crushing the Junior World Championship, arrived in Moto3, and was like, everyone's like, oh, watch this boy, and then nothing for years. Bastianini was very similar. Bastianini came in, and everyone was really expecting him to do well, and didn't really do anything in Moto3. He had a couple of good results, but nothing that said he would go on to become the Moto2 champ and be a MotoGP rider.
No. Sometimes they do come up, and everyone's like, wow, check this guy out, and then it just takes a long time for them to come into their own and just settle in, I guess.
Yeah,
get the head round it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was true of Tito as well.
Yeah, there's a massive difference between like a domestic or national series compared to this world stage where you are competing against the best.
Oh yeah, it's night and day, the difference, isn't it? And it's amazing because we do see it like all the time, like the two guys I've just spoken about. But you see it in guys that have absolutely crushed their national series. They go to the Junior World Championship, they crush that, and they look on top of the world. They've never lost before, and then they come into World Championship racing, and all of a sudden they're competing with guys who have had exactly the same experience as them all the way to this point. So they're all in the top 1%, and all of a sudden, if you're in the top 1% and you're competing with the other 99%, fucking happy days, you're well away.
Awesome.
Once you're competing with the same 1%, all of a sudden, it's a very different story.
Yeah, I wonder how much these kids get into these, like, that happens to them, and they get there, and they're so, not egotistical or big-headed, because they have been crushing it, but they're on that high, they're riding that wave, and then suddenly they get that first ride, and they're, like, mid-table.
I think we saw this happen to Chan On Chu, didn't we? After he won that wet Valencia race on that wildcard ride fuck me, what year was that? 2018? He won in Valencia.
2018.
And then we're like, whoa, he's going to be good. And then he came in and did absolutely nothing. It was dropped at the end of that year.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, that ride was good as well. That was a serious ride. No, scored him a factory ride.
Yeah, it did. He scored him that Akiaya ride. With the KTM, and I mean, he was the youngest guy to ever win a GP race at that point. He beat Scott Redding's record.
Yeah, but yeah, to come in then and just do absolutely nothing. It's just that like burst of a bubble, and just the realization of like, shit, this is hard.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not playtime anymore. It's bloody work time.
Yeah, quite. Certainly a very different experience.
Absolutely.
So 2007, we saw Rabat riding alongside Bradley Smith. He'd moved to the Repsol Honda factory 125 squad at this point.
Yes.
He finished the season in 11th with 74 points and did score one podium that year, and that was in China. So, things are picking up now. He's had a full-time year. He's building.
He's getting there, and he's on a good ride with that bike. That was a good bike. Smith was a good teammate.
Yeah.
I couldn't see a picture of them now together at the time. Yeah,
it's funny just seeing pictures of Smith with hair. That's what really tickles me when I see them now.
Yes, it's really weird. I like just how young some of these riders look back then.
Yeah.
You're thinking like, 14 years ago now? It's like, Jesus, that's so long.
Yeah, exactly.
And some of them are still there. Oh my God.
Yeah, well, a lot of them are still there, to be fair.
Yeah.
So 2008, Honda kind of pulled out of 125 racing, and the Repsol Honda team became the Repsol KTM team. Now, I didn't actually realise this was a thing. So this kind of shocked me when I was like, not every Repsol branded bike ever has been a Honda. That was interesting.
No, they did do KTMs for a while. I forget when that ended now.
I imagine it would have ended when it became Moto3, didn't it? And
think so, yeah. I didn't think whether it carried on, but I don't think it did. I think it stopped with 125s. They've not always been Hondas.
Yeah, that did surprise me. But so Tito Rabat was riding the Repsol KTM in 2008 alongside a fella called Marc Marquez. Never heard of him before, but apparently they were teammates.
It won't come to anything.
Marquez actually beat Tito across the season by 14 points, even though he competed in 3 less races throughout the year. But they were the top 2 KTMs. So, Tito did lose out by a little bit to Marquez, but it beat some other notable riders to score 49 points and was 14th over the season. Not bad.
A little bit less than the year before, but,
Yeah, that's better. It's a change of manufacturer, tougher teammate.
Yeah, that's it. Pressure's starting to mount to do something. Eyes is going to be starting to look. Not bad. Still not bad.
No, exactly. It's still that building potential, isn't it? At this point, 2009, Rabat left the Repsol squad to go back to BQR, and this time they were competing with Aprilia machinery. They had been on Hondas earlier in his early part of his World Championship career. He did score points in the opening few rounds of that 2009 year before going on a long run of DNFs and non-scores to score 37 points and 18th overall. And this is where we're starting to see a bit of a problem, aren't we? Because 2007, we see the 74 points, 11th. Yeah. 2008, 49 points, 14th. 2009, 37 points, 18th. You're like, this is not the trajectory of a guy that you want to sign to jump up, is it?
No, this is starting to look a little more normal Tito. And then looking down the notes that we've got in front of us, there's a few more DNFs start to creep in.
Yes.
As we come down, and the points are here or there. They're not standing out. They're not jumping off the page as. And like you say, this is not the scope of someone or the performance of someone that you're going to start to look at and think, I want that man in our team.
Yeah, exactly. So you kind of, I think from Tito's point of view, this is the time where he's got to look at those last few years and you've got to think, shit, I really need to pull my finger out. I need to have a good year or I'm fucked now because no one's going to sign me if I have another year like this.
No, especially in like the 125 days and still in the Moto3 days. There's so many guys dying to get in for a ride that one bad season, 2 bad seasons could see you being replaced.
Yeah, totally.
And he's already had 3. It's time to start stepping it up, bruv.
Yeah, exactly. And as if he was listening to us, as if he had reached through the time, a whole 10 years, 11 years, and listened to this podcast. 2010, saw him still with the same BQR Aprilia squad. Saw him finish 6th overall, 147 points across the season and 2 podiums. So he certainly had a big step in performance there, and that's a big step.
That is a big step. Maybe like changing machinery, KTM to Aprilia.
Yeah, maybe it was the inconsistency of being on the Honda, then on the KTM, then on the Aprilia. Maybe just having 2 years on the bounce on the same machinery gave him what he needed.
Yeah, maybe just like the Aprilia suited him better.
Yeah,
you do find that some machines just suit people better.
Yeah, but then in 2009 he had a terrible season on the Aprilia.
Yeah, that's true. It's far more Tito.
Yeah. So I wonder if it's the consistency of just being on the same machinery, being able to learn it. And actually we'll see as he progresses through his career, being able to... The consistency of machinery and just being able to put the laps in is something that Tito really benefits from.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
So after that good season, like I say, he certainly has reached through time to listen to us for this. He did get snatched up to Moto2. Same team with the BQR team who were running an FTR chassis in Moto2. I actually had to look this team up because I was like, what is an FTR chassis? I've never heard of these guys before. But they're an English company or British company. Created chassis. They created chassis for Moto2 in the early years. They created CRT chassis as well.
They did. I believe they went bust.
Yes, they got bought out by the same company that built Circuit of Wales. Remember that whole shit show?
That's still being dug.
Yeah, well, I think that's gone completely. The whole company's gone bust.
I think it's completely gone. I was gutted when I was really looking forward to it. The outlay, the prints they had of that track were freaking amazing.
It looked nice, man. It did look good. But yeah, the same company that designed or were investing in the Circuit of Wales bought FTR because they wanted to get a British rider on a British chassis riding on a Welsh circuit. So British circuit. It's still a British circuit.
It is a British circuit.
I've been in Scotland for too long, man. Where everyone's
like, they're turning you.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be voting yes in the next referendum. You wait and see.
So now, damn it.
Yeah. So Tito running the BQR team on the FTR chassis finished 10th overall in his maiden season in Moto2. Scored 1 podium and 79 points. Most of his finishes were in the points actually, but did have 3 DNFs, 3 non-scores. And actually, when you look at that season, it's a pretty good rookie year in Moto2.
I was going to say, like 6 races of no points and to still finish 10th is good.
Yeah, and there's a couple of guys, like Marc Marquez was a rookie that year, finished above him, and I mean, arguably should have won the season that year. And a couple of guys, a couple of the rookies finished ahead of him, but it was a good year for rookies. They all finished pretty high up.
Yeah, like you say, all round, whoever came up just did well. And I think that's a really solid year for him. You know, he's come up, he's had 3 DNFs, 3 non-scores, and to still finish 10th. That's not bad.
That's not bad
really
at all.
Not bad at
Get
all.
1 podium in your rookie year.
Yeah, and again, trophy to walk away from. I'd be happy with that as an opening year.
To be fair, it's not much different to Johan Mir's only year in Moto2.
That's very true. Didn't think of that. Did not think of that at all. Because did he have 2 podiums?
One or two. It wasn't a lot, was it? It was certainly
No,
not the performance you would have said, "Can't let's sign him and see what happens." But obviously, Davide Brivio
no.
did and saw that he was certainly a
Saw
good
the
choice.
talent that was there.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn you, Brivio. Come back.
He's not even been gone a month yet, and we're still begging for him to come back.
I've got a contact. I've got someone who's going to put in a good word. I'll tell you about that after the show.
Okay. So we move to 2012. Rabat leaves the BQR team and moves over to Pons Racing. He scored 7th in the championship. Again, a single podium, 117 points. Across the season, just points pretty much every race. 2 non-scores, 1 DNF, but points everywhere else.
Better building coming nicely.
Yeah, exactly. A solid, like we've seen a progression now, haven't we? We saw that from the lows of kind of the 2008, 2009, I guess, the low of 2009. Now the building up through. So good a good 125 season in 2010, good rookie season in 2011, solid sophomore season. See, I remembered
sophomore
season in 2012. And then for 2013 into his junior season. Oh yes,
he's crushing it.
He stayed with Pons Racing and won 3 races: 1 in Jerez, 1 in Indianapolis, 1 in Malaysia, and scored 4 more podiums that year. 216 points put him 3rd in the standings overall. So real solid improvement now over the last few years.
Yeah. We were saying before we start recording, sometimes some machines, like he stepped up to Moto2, and it just seems to have clicked.
Yes.
Something changed, whether that type of machine, the Moto2 bike, just being bigger, maybe.
We see it a lot though, don't we? And you see it as guys. Some guys will get onto a bigger bike and really struggle. Other guys will get onto a bigger bike and really thrive. Casey Stoner was arguably someone that really struggled on the smaller bikes, and then put him on 2.5s, and he starts to improve. Put him on a MotoGP bike, and wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
So some people improve as the bikes get bigger. Some people, their performance drops off as the bikes get bigger. It really depends on the riding style and on the riders themselves.
Yeah, it's all got to gel. It's like that perfect little package. It's all got to be finely tuned. And we've seen it, like, we'll come on to that, obviously, with Tito's career. But obviously, I personally think you should have retired in 2015. Just call it, poof, that's it. I've peaked. But we'll get on to that later.
Yeah, quite. So 2014 then, Tito leaves Pons Racing and moves to Mark VDS.
Does.
This was the move that obviously made Tito's career.
Yeah, this is the one.
He scored 7 victories, 7 further podiums, and scored the highest ever points total in the intermediate class, 346 points. He won the title, beating his teammate Mika Kallio by 57 points.
That's quite a lot for Moto2 as well.
A lot, yeah, especially when you consider that this year's or last year's Moto2 season, 4 riders were in for the championship in the final round.
Exactly, all within, was it 24 points, something like
that?
Yeah. That's a good margin, a very good margin.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of and Marc Marquez would be happy with 57-point lead at the end of the year.
Exactly. The only bit that put me off when I was reading that, or not put me off, made me think I had to do a double take. So I was like, Mark VDS. I was like, Honda was shite. Oh, it was Moto2.
Yeah, exactly. The Mark VDS Moto2 bike has always been a good package. No, this was the first time I think Mark VDS had won a race, let alone a championship.
I think so, yeah. They struggled up to them because Scott Redding was with them, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, so of course they'd won races because he challenged for the championship on that bike. He did win races, but this was the first time they'd won a championship.
Yeah. I think they'd had good results before, but this was the first time somebody come straight in and just done it off the hip.
Yeah. I mean, Scott Redding had a good season. He was battling with Paul Espargaro until he broke his wrist, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And that was 2013?
Yes, because we saw him race at Silverstone.
Yeah, that's it. So Mark VDS had definitely won races at this point. This was their first championship in 2014 with Tito.
Oh, yeah. It's 2013 when he got beaten up in the stand for shouting at people for leaving.
Who did?
I did.
Oh.
Well, everyone, right. We had Moto3, then MotoGP, so everyone fucked off. As soon as the MotoGP had done. No one hung around to watch the Moto2. So as people were going downstairs, like, you're not going to stay. You've paid to watch it, so you're not going to stay. Look, Scott's on. So bloke was like, shut up. No, fuck off.
You're just making friends wherever you go, Steve.
Yeah. I got a bit annoyed that people were leaving. I was like, they're going to race. Come on, it's racing.
That's fine. It means when you come to leave, though, the car park's more empty. There's going to be less cars there. It's a quicker exit.
Oh yeah, that did happen. I was really pleased with that. We got straight out, no messing. Whew.
Well, that's like when you and I have been to watch Superbikes. We'll just always stay for the sidecar race at the end.
Yeah,
To be fair, I'm not that into sidecars. It doesn't really bother me, but I know that I can either sit and watch racing around a track, or I can sit in my car and watch a queue of traffic in front of me. So I'll just sit and watch the racing, and then by the time we actually get up to leave, everyone's gone.
yeah, we did that. We stayed, didn't we? When was
Yeah.
it? We went 2017.
Yes. I remember sitting there and watching MotoGP qualifying as we were watching some of the
That's it. We had
Superbikes go
GP
around.
on the phones and Superbikes going around Snetterton. It was great. It was a good weekend.
It was a good weekend.
Yeah, the smell of burning petrol and oil in the air was brilliant.
Yes, yeah, I'm waking up hungover, like, very confused because all of a sudden you
Sunburn.
can hear like the 125s going round. You're like, oh god, what is happening? My head.
Yeah, what's in my house? I'm not in my house. I'm in a mouldy tent.
Yeah, I'm like rolling over. I'm like, whoa, that's Steve. I thought that was Cherie. That's weird.
Start getting touched. Oh, hello.
Before we make any admissions we're going to regret, let's dive into 2015. So, 2015, we saw Tito remain in Moto 2. There was talk he could get a MotoGP ride. I remember at the time an interview with him saying, no, I want a better MotoGP ride than I've been offered. And I know that if I stay, if I win the title again, if I do what Lorenzo before me did, what Pedrosa before him did, if I can do it twice on the bounce, he's like, I know I'll get a better ride.
Oh, yeah. And why not? You're going to. If people have done it before you, you know it's capable. I go for it. And like he said, you probably get a better ride out of it. So give it a shot.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely.
Gotta give it a shot.
So we got to see the number 1 plate in Moto 2, which is quite a rare occurrence because like usually the champion just goes straight up.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So I was like, it gets a bit annoying when people do just like, want it right, I want up there.
Yeah.
It's nice to see people stick around and actually defend the title.
But it is the norm, isn't it? Like the norm is you just do it, you move. Like gone are the eras where people make a career in the lower classes. Like there was a time where you would have serial 125 champions. They'd stay there. You'd have Max Biaggi, what, 4 250 championships?
3 or 4, yeah. But yeah, you're absolutely right. You made your career in whatever class you were good at, and you stuck there and you defend it, and you become like 4, 5, 6 time, I don't know, 350, 250, 500cc champion.
Yeah, that's it.
But now the pinnacle of motorsport in GP is MotoGP, and everyone wants to be up there.
Yeah, who's this guy in Supersport that did it? That was like just stayed in Supersport for a long Turkish fellow. What was his name?
Oh, recently.
Yeah, in World Supersport. Oh fuck, what was his name? That's annoying.
I could picture it. It's a really long surname that starts with a K.
Does it begin with a K?
I'm pretty sure it does. Oh, let's Google it. We'll be
I'm going to. World Supersport, multiple champ.
Yeah, multi-time champion. I'd say with this thing.
Oh, I can't actually type at the moment.
I couldn't type earlier. I was trying to type on my phone, and I just fat fingers, mate.
Fat fingers. That's what we'll go.
I've got a bigger phone as well. I've upgraded the iPhone 12, and it's just like I could type worse on this thing, and I could the small thing.
That's strange. Why has that happened?
I don't know. I just cannot type on this thing. Really can't. I'm relying heavily on autocorrect, and then autocorrect goes, right, he's written I can't. That definitely says jingle bells.
I did not ducking mean jingle bells.
That's so annoying. I was like, no, I want an F there, not a D. Duck off.
My Google searching is not going well here, mate.
No, let me have a crack. Let me fire up old Smokey over here and see what happens.
Keenan Sofawoglu.
Keenan Sofawoglu.
I've really struggled with his name, but that was him, and he rode up to World Superbikes, but dropped back down to Supersport and just made a career there. And it was almost he was like the measuring stick for everyone. Like if you came into Supersport and you beat him, then great, you're promoted. If you can't beat him, you don't get promoted. And that was sort of like it's good to have these riders that stay there as the yardstick.
I think you need it. I think every sport needs that person. Every sport has got that person. You've got your Federers, your Tigers, whoever.
But we've got to remember someone like Federer, someone like Tiger. They're the Valentino Rossis. They're the top of the game. They're not stuck. I say stuck, but they're not in the division below.
No, that is true. But every point I'm trying to make is every category needs its benchmark. I think sometimes people are far too keen to jump up to the big time, then carry on with something that they already know and are good at.
Yeah, that's the thing. But I think a lot of it's ego, isn't it? Like, why
I
would you
think you're
want
right.
to be the best in tier 2 when you've got a chance to try and be the best in tier 1?
Yeah, this is true.
So I think there was certainly a period in history where people were very happy to be the best in their chosen class, but that doesn't seem to be the case, especially not in the modern era of motorsport.
No, I think you're very right there. Everyone just wants to be at the top. Everyone wants to be in Formula One. Everyone wants to be in MotoGP.
Yeah, everyone wants to be MotoGP. If they're in the World Superbike paddock, they want to be riding the Superbikes. If they're in the GP paddock, they want to be riding a MotoGP bike. If you like, say, if they're car racing, they kind of, or single seater car racing at least, they want to be in Formula One. If you're, I don't know if there's different classes in rallying. I assume there is, but there's always the pinnacle of your chosen discipline. That's where people want to be.
Yeah, I mean, why not as well? That is something to aim for. That set your sights high, go for it. But I do think it's a little bit sad when you haven't got a multi-time champion in each category.
Yeah.
And that would be nice to say like Tito had hung around in Moto2. He said, right now I'm going to make a go of this. I'm going to win. I've won my title. I've lost it. I'm going to win it back now.
Yeah, that's fair. Because you've also got to think, like, at the top level in Moto2, the guys are earning a decent living. They're not getting paid pennies here. Like, they've got to bring sponsorship with them, but they're also earning a decent living. They're earning more than you and I are ever going to earn.
Oh, God, yeah. Absolutely. They're going to be earning big, big bucks. So you could survive on it quite comfortably.
Yeah.
It would be nice just to see, for once, to see someone stick there and make a real crack of it and say, right, I am the champ. I am now multi-time champ. Come at me.
Yeah.
That would be really nice. Whether someone will actually do it, I highly doubt someone will do it.
No, because most of the time when we see people do it, if they do win it the second time, like we saw Zarco go and do it twice, they're kind of doing it just to get a better MotoGP ride, and that's exactly why Tito stayed in 2015.
That's it. I mean, he said it himself. I believe if I stay, I can get a better ride.
Yeah, exactly.
Shame. It is a shame, but there we go. That is the nature of the world we live in now. Everyone wants the big show.
No, that's it. And I can't really blame them. Like, why train for something your whole life? Why dream for something your whole life? And then I don't think anyone dreams of being Moto2 champ or multiple-time Moto2 champ. They dream of being a MotoGP champ or a World Superbike champ. The Moto2 championship is just a step on the way of getting there. Yeah.
If you speak to any of these guys, you go back and you look at like their first interview as a kid when they're in the CEV or wherever. What do you want to do when you're older? MotoGP world champion.
I want to be Valentino Rossi. I want to be Marc Marquez.
Exactly. Not one of them says, "Oh, I want to be Tito Rabat in 2014."
Yeah, exactly. I want to be Max Biaggi doing 4 intermediate titles on the bounce.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. They all want the big guns.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But 2015 did not go to plan for Tito. He tried to defend his title. He had the number 1 plate. He actually finished 3rd in the championship behind Zarco and Rins. Rins would have been on his rookie year, wouldn't he, into Moto2? I'm
going to say yes.
Yeah, I think he'd have been in his rookie year. Would it have been his rookie year? Yes, it would have been, because 2014, Rins, Miller and Alex Marquez were battling for the Moto3 title. And Alex Marquez joined Mark VDS to be Tito's teammate in 2015.
Right. Makes sense. Yes, that sounds very right.
So on his way to finishing 3rd anyway, Tito scored 3 wins and 7 more podiums, scored 231 points. Zarco was outperforming him throughout the year, but when they came into the final few rounds, Zarco with an 80-point lead was well away, and Tito crashed in Japan and broke his wrist, missed 3 rounds. He did come back for the final round of the year at Valencia and did win the race, but didn't quite score enough points to take 2nd place back from Rins.
No. Shame.
It is a shame because it was still a decent performance. Like he was certainly outperformed by Zarco. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah.
He was outperformed by Zarco big time. But Zarco sort of exploded that year. Zarco was very crashy until that year, and then all of a sudden under Akiyao was like, boom, let's get this done.
Yeah, all of a sudden, like we say all the time, something clicked, something has happened, whether it's moving into that team or just something happened, and then he just had a stellar year, and Tito just had, shall we say, an average year.
Yeah, and it's still a good year by Tito standards, to be fair.
It is, yeah. It's not a bad one at all. but it's just unfortunate that was in the year where he was defending his championship.
Yes.
If that had been 3 or 4 years before, not a bad year. It was just unfortunate. He'd hung around trying to defend his championship, and it just happened that year.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't quite work out for him.
No. Shame, because I would love to have seen him do a double and then see what he could have done in MotoGP. But
yeah, exactly. But then 2016, he does move up into MotoGP. But before we talk about his MotoGP career, Steve, let's take a quick break. I am going to go get a cider. I think I've decided that's what I'm going to go do. Thank you for bearing with us there, guys. So we are fast forwarding. I say fast forwarding. We're slowly skipping along to 2016, and Tito has moved up to MotoGP. He's with the Mark VDS squad here and is partnered by Jack Miller. Jack Miller, who's just moved across from the LCR squad.
Yes. Mark VDS Honda.
Yeah, it's fair to say this would have been like a third tier Honda, wasn't it? It was not a good bike by any stretch of the imagination.
No, not at all. It's a way into MotoGP, should we say?
Yes, and I think, was it the open class Honda at the time Tito was on?
I think so, yes. I think that's right. I can't fully remember, but it was a dog of a bike.
Yeah, it wasn't good. I mean, that year, Tito scored a grand total of 29 points, put him 21st overall. By comparison, Miller finished 3 places ahead in 18th, but had 57 points. So, not a good result. Not a good result for either rider, to be fair.
No, but like I said, it's a way in. It's that stepping stone. He's there. He's in the prime time. All you can do is hope that you emulate your seasons of the past, especially Moto 2.
Yeah, exactly.
And just build. And he's there. He's done it. He's in the big time.
We did actually sort of forget to say when we were talking about his Moto 2 season, he was quite famous, especially in those 2 years with Mark VDS, for getting a Calyx chassis and putting a road going 600 engine in it. And just smashing it around the track. And he would just do laps and laps and laps, and this is before there were testing rules in place. In fact, the Moto2 testing rules sort of came into place because of Tito. Just he put in so many laps. He'd just go day after day after day to the track, wear out tyres, tear through the fuel. I mean, he was tearing through engines, but he was just getting used to the feel of the bike. This is what we discussed, wasn't when we were talking about his 125 career. If he can have that consistency, if he can get used to a machine, he can really progress. And that's what did it for him in Moto2. Come to MotoGP, and although now there are those testing rules in place in Moto2, they weren't at the time.
No.
But they were in MotoGP. So it's not like he could get a MotoGP chassis and get a BMW S1000RR engine or something and just whack it in there. A, it wouldn't have fit, but B, the testing rules would have prevented him from doing that.
Exactly. And like you say, they were put in place because he was just so committed.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they're in place in Moto2 and arguably for Moto3 as well. Just because they saw what someone who has the money and the commitment to do what they can do and the upper hand they can get on the rest of the field by doing it. And you can't blame him for that. If he can take an advantage, you take the advantage. At this level of racing, this elite level of any sport, it's marginal gains. And if you can find 2% from working a little bit harder and having a slight advantage over everyone else, you're going to take that 2%. And that 2% wins you a championship.
Exactly. Yeah. You're going to do all you can do. And if that's his way of doing it, he did it. He tried it.
Yeah, exactly.
And you cannot knock his commitment whatsoever.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So 2017 saw Tito stay with Mark VDS again. It's another pretty bad year. Managed a single top 10 across the year, 35 points in total, finished 19th across the season. We compare it to Miller, who was still his teammate. Miller finished 11th overall with 82 points. So at this point, you're like, ooh, I mean, Miller we know is a world-class talent.
Absolutely.
But Miller wasn't in his prime at this point either, and still comfortably putting Tito away.
Yeah, that's what I think I'd say. It's that old adage, you've got to beat your teammate. And if, he's got that first stepping stone in the MotoGP, the way to do, to progress your career and move up is to do exactly what Miller is doing.
Yeah.
Like you say, Miller's not necessarily in his prime here, but he's doing the right things. And, for Tito at this point, we said it before, beat your teammate and move up, progress every year. And, things are already starting to look like that's not happening.
Yes. Yeah,
So,
that's fair. So 2018, we see Mark VDS disappear off the grid in 2018.
I think that was the year the whole scandal issue thing kicked off, and Mark VDS were no more.
Yeah, at least off the MotoGP grid. Obviously, there's still got Moto2 presence. So yeah, Mark VDS they are gone, aren't they?
Yes.
And Tito is now riding for Avintia, who, as we discussed earlier, are also the same team he rode for in all the way back in 2005 when it was the BQR Honda team in 125. So same team, same owners, different name, different bike.
Yep, just gone full circle.
Yeah, exactly. And he's riding the Ducati. It would have been a GP17 that year, wouldn't it? It was a year-old Ducati. And he was alongside Javier Simeon. And I'd completely forgotten Simeon was in MotoGP at all. Completely forgotten about him until I saw his name. I was like, ha, oh yeah. I remember me and Steve just ranting about him for ages.
I did exactly the same thing. I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Just clicked in there. I was like, shit, yeah. Forgot about that. We tore him to pieces.
Yeah, we really, really did. And actually, Tito's year in 2018 was looking pretty good compared to his previous years. He was starting to, yes, he'd moved manufacturer, but just the consistency and being on a better bike, arguably that the GP17 was a way better machine than the Mark VDS Honda he was on.
Oh god, yeah. In some ways, like the wrap up of Mark to VDS probably did Tito quite a bit of good to get away from that team, away from that bike, and actually on to something better.
Yes, certainly.
The GP17 that we're seeing, Dovi challenging so well on, and all of a sudden he's got this
Dovi
bike.
won multiple races in 2017 on that bike.
Exactly. So all of a sudden he's got this bike which he knows is capable.
Yeah.
And he's just got to make it work.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And to be fair, he's got to hope the team can make it work as well, because I know Dovi won races on that bike, but let's not forget it's now a year old. And if you were to try to tell me that Avintia were a better racing team than the Ducati factory team, I'd probably just tell you to fuck off.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he knows the potential's there. It's just whether, he and the team can extract the potential out of the bike.
Exactly. There's a lot of work to be done behind the scenes as well.
Yes, certainly. But he did have a good season. It was going very well until we hit that terrible race at Silverstone, the Silverstone race that was cancelled in 2018. I remember just being a British MotoGP fan. I was quite embarrassed that race had been cancelled. I felt like I was partly to blame. I was a bit mortified about it, especially when I then talk to people in other countries or hit other podcasts. And people are like, oh, fucking hell, the Brits can't. It's Britain. They can't make a track that deals with the rain. It's Britain. What are they thinking? Fair point.
It rains a lot
here.
This is the race where they did the interview with Scott Redding in the pits, wasn't it? And he's just like in his leathers, just said, "Well, let's go."
Oh, the stop crying, let's race or something. Yeah, don't cry, let's race. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely brilliant, cracking little bit of commentary there from Scott. But
it's true. But the reason the race was cancelled was because of Tito. Well, it was because the track was unsafe, and Tito got hurt, really, really hurt, because the track was unsafe.
Yeah, that was quite the crash.
Yeah, and it was a big thing. So it was water, wasn't it? It was spilling across the track. It was chucking it down with rain. The water's rushing across the track, and it's not draining anywhere. So it just ended up standing water. I can't remember which turn it was.
I can't remember what turn it was, but I remember seeing like pictures, and it looked like rivers going across the track.
Mm-hmm. And it clearly was, because Tito aquaplaned as he's breaking into the corner, straight on, tumbled, big crash. And it was nasty, but he's up, he's recovering, good to go. And then all the guys behind him did the same thing. And this is where we saw that bowling ball effect of just bike come flying down as they all hit the water. And Tito was unfortunate enough to take that massive hit from... Do you remember whose bike it was?
I don't. I've been trying to remember this all day, whose bike it was. I got a feeling it was Frankie's.
Was it?
Yeah, I got a feeling it was Frankie's.
Was Frankie in it in 2018?
I'm sure it was Frankie's. Hang on, just let me... It was all...
he might have been, yeah, I think you're right.
Let's just look it up real quick, because I'm curious now. I am pretty sure it was Frankie's.
I I can't. Oh, hang on.
I'm pretty sure it's Fraggy's because they said there was multiple bikes went in there, and that was the one that did it.
Okay.
It is
Yeah, it was Frankie. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Frankie Morbidelli's bike. Yeah, and he's the one, and it was a severe, really, really severe break, wasn't it? To the point that actually you could. Do you remember actually? Did you watch this live?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you remember being able to hear his screams? You could hear him screaming over the TV commentary from the camera that was trackside. You could hear that coming off the microphone. He's in the gravel trap, and you could hear his screams.
Yeah. It was muffled, but you could tell he was in pain. And the only upside for that, excuse me, if he's screaming, he was alive.
Well, exactly. But arguably, if the team there hadn't been as quick as they were, he wouldn't have been, because the break was properly severe, and it was
that was bad.
It was a really nasty one.
Yeah, there was a really nice piece. I can't remember exactly when it was, but Tito went and thanked.
It was a year later.
Yeah,
it was the next year at Silverstone.
That's the one. Yeah, but he actually went and thanked all those marshals and people that were involved in saving him.
Yeah,
it was a really nice gesture. But yeah, I thought personally that was game over.
Yeah, and I think we were recording at the time, and I think we said his career's done. He's not going to be back from this.
No. But he did come back. Thank God.
He did come back. So he missed 7 rounds.
Yes.
And in the end, he scored 35 points, finishing 19th overall in the season, exactly the same as 2017. Yep. Considering that he'd missed 7 rounds because of this, that's not really bad. He'd had consistent top 10s through the year. He'd actually put in some pretty good qualifying performances. And to put things into perspective, Javier Simeon, his teammate, finished 27th with just a single point that year.
Exactly.
And I went back and had a look and worked out his average score, Tito's average score for the races he finished. And I added that to the points he got, and then saw where that would have placed him in the table. And if he'd have carried on the way he was doing throughout the season, he'd have finished 14th overall with around 56 points.
That's not bad. Bad. Not bad at all, considering he just changed teams.
And it's that steady progression, isn't it? Finishing 21st with 29 points, finishing 19th with 35 points. If he'd have then jumped up and finished that 14th with around the mid-50s in points, good progression.
Yep, nice. Yeah, such a shame, because that awful crash, and then it's just not the same, was he? He's not ever really, I don't think, got over that. I don't think his riding capabilities have been anything near what they were.
No, I think that's certainly true. I think he was certainly not the same rider afterwards, and that would go to show in his performances. 2019, Javier Simeon was out. Carol Abraham was back in from, I think he'd done a year or two in World Superbikes. He'd come back to the MotoGP paddock. He joined Tito in the Avintia squad, and Tito did win the inter-team battle there, but it was a pretty dire season. He scored 23 points in total, 20th overall, and Abraham scored 9 points and 24th overall. So yeah, Tito won, but it's nothing to write home about.
No, nothing at all. Struggling, very, very struggling.
Yeah.
And then that brings us on nicely to his final year.
His final year in MotoGP 2020. So still with Avintia, or a Sponsorama, as they became. He scored 10 points across the year, 22nd overall, and only scored points on 4 occasions. And we compare that to his teammate, Johan Zarco, who actually, I haven't written his results down, so bear with me a moment. But we know Zarco scored podiums. Zarco had a pole position.
He did. He really did quite well.
Yeah, so we know Zarco certainly outperformed Tito, and I think, Tito being on the downward trend at this point, and then having Zarco come in and really show us what can be done on that machinery did make a massive difference. Now, Zarco finished 13th overall with 77 points, so
big difference.
A big disparity between the two. And although Tito did actually have a contract signed and sealed and ready to go for 2021 with the same squad, we're sort of aware that contracts in motorsport
tied very loosely.
Yeah, they're not worth shit. There's not really a point in having a contract. You're probably better off just shaking hands with your neighbour is probably better as a deal than writing a contract for a motorsport team.
There's some massive loopholes now.
Yeah, exactly. And contracts can't always be bought out, to be fair. I'm sure Tito earned a decent amount of money from the contract being broken, but you're still not going to be happy with it.
No, we know from some interviews that he's done that he's not chuffed, but he has got himself a ride lined up for next year, which is really nice. Yes. I'm pleased for him.
So he's been ousted from his MotoGP ride by Luca Marini, Valentino Rossi's brother, who we will be doing a show on very soon.
Oh, we shall.
So he's come in, Tito's gone. I assume the VR46 Academy probably paid a good chunk of Rabat's bye-bye money.
More than likely.
And now Rabat is moving over to World Superbikes with the Barney Ducati squad as well. So a decent team, to be fair. They're not the factory Ducati team, but they are the number 2 Ducati team.
It's a good ride. It's not a bad ride at all.
I mean, he's on that Panigale V4, isn't he?
So, lovely looking bike that.
It's the same bike Scott Redding's riding. I think actually is Chaz Davies his teammate next year.
I think you could be right, yeah.
So it'll be interesting, a good yardstick to be competing against for Chaz Davies.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of good racing this year, as long as it happens. Superbikes, both domestic and world, are shaping up to be really good. The GP is looking like it's going to be really good. Things are starting to really look smooth and rosy all across the racing board.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to have to clear some TV time.
Yeah, I know, that's the thing. I'm sort of like at this point now where it's been long enough without racing. I'm like, I've been starting other projects, doing other things, and now the racing's creeping up on us again. I'm like, fuck, how did I ever fit all of this in?
Yeah, I feel exactly the same. I sit here some nights and I think, right, I've got, I'm on furlough at the minute. How did I fit everything in when I was at work?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I'd finish work at like 5 on like a Tuesday now and rush back and get the kids sorted, fed, bath, bed, and then we'd be recording by 8, half 8. It's like, Christ, when did I ever get time to watch all this stuff?
Yeah, exactly. It's weird, isn't it?
I think back to like the weekends, and the weekends are literally just racing.
Yeah.
Everywhere is just permanent racing. It's like kids were like, Daddy, you want to watch telly? No.
It got to the point, like, some years, it wasn't so bad last year because I didn't watch a huge amount of World Superbikes as well as all the car racing and the GP stuff. But there's some years I remember, like, standing in the shower and I'd have my phone propped up on the sink that I could just see through, like, a misty patch through the shower curtain or the shower glass. So I could be watching that while having a quick wash and getting an extra 5 minutes of racing in.
I've sent you a picture before, didn't I, where I had a windscreen mount from our car. I went out and got it, and I had it stuck on one of the units in the kitchen. I was doing the washing up and the cooking. And I had my phone mounted on a cupboard, and I was just like cooking away, burning everything.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. I really thought you were going to say you sent me a photo of you in the shower. I was like, well, I don't remember receiving this, Steve.
No, I don't take photos in the shower.
Not once I sent to Tim, anyway. So I tell you what, Steve, what do you think? Do you think Tito is going to perform better with the Barney Ducati squad in World Superbikes than he did in MotoGP?
Yes. Yeah, I really do. I think if Tito's results had been the same as what they were in MotoGP, but he hadn't had that injury in 2018, let's say, and he'd still left last year, without a shadow of a doubt, I'm sure he would go on and do some really good things in World Superbikes. That injury is obviously still going to hinder him a bit, but I really do think he is going to be not a massive contender in World Superbikes, but we are going to see him challenging for a podium.
And we know that the Barney Ducati is a race-winning machine, and they're a race-winning squad. And we know that World Superbikes, while still a fucking handful, they're not quite the same beasts as a MotoGP bike, so a little bit gentler to ride. It's a very different riding style. It's going to take him a long while to get used to it. A little bit gentler. So maybe, I think he's going to certainly be a podium contender at some points throughout the year. Whether he'll win a race or not, maybe he will. I mean, he's certainly capable of winning races. So we'll have to see what happens. But I think he's certainly going to perform better in World Superbikes. He's certainly going to finish higher in the championship than he finished the last few years in MotoGP.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. Definitely going to keep an eye on it. I want to see what Scott Reddy could do this year. I want to see what Tito could do this year. So there's going to be a lot of telly time. Yeah,
I mean, the Scott Redding, Johnny Ray battles are going to be pretty good.
It's going to be epic this year. It's going to be so good. As long as COVID doesn't screw us over again.
Yeah, that's fair.
This year, It's going to be really, really good.
I mean, to be fair, World Superbikes was pretty good despite COVID, or maybe because of COVID, it was an even better season.
I personally think with the condensed season that we had last year, a lot of people don't like the triple headers. I quite like them because I like the intensity of the racing. I like the full-on bum, 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 bum.
I'm much more of a fan of a double header and then a week off and then another double header. I'm not a big fan of the triple headers, actually.
I was. I didn't think I would be, but I just enjoyed it. I like the frequency of the racing. That's only because I'm impatient. And, I don't care about the riders' feelings. I don't care how much they earn. I just want them to race every weekend for me.
The thing is, I do quite like doing other things aside from the racing. And because the racing is always in the summer, I feel like if it's on every week, I'm like, I don't do anything else with my time. Like, I want to get outside and enjoy the sun a little bit.
I know what you mean. To be fair, that was a lot last year.
Yeah.
When I watched a lot. I come home on a Friday and I've got free practice recorded. I watch it all day Saturday. I watch it all day Sunday. And then before you know it, you're waking up to go back to work on a Monday. That is a lot. That is a lot of telly. You can record it, yes, and then watch it back later on. But I'm not one to avoid social media, and I always spoil it myself.
Yeah.
So it is a lot. That was very intense. I quite enjoyed it, but it was very, very intense. Not just for me, I'm sure the riders were like, fuck off, triple headers.
Oh, yeah, riders and the teams and stuff. I can't even imagine what it's like.
No.
I know they're all doing jobs they love and stuff, but
there's a limit.
Yeah, there's certainly a limit. It's a lot of travel. It's a lot of being knackered. It's a lot of hard work. And yeah, like we say, they're doing a job they love. It's not like they're going around cleaning toilets and stuff. Like they're not doing or packing boxes in a factory or, working in an Amazon warehouse. It's not an awful, awful job. But it's certainly hard work, especially like you think they're setting up Wednesday, Thursday. They're then working long, long days. They're probably putting in 50, 60 hours over the 4 or 5 days they're working. So they're working more than a full-time week, easy.
Oh, absolutely. It's a lot. It's a lot. These guys need a break. So fingers crossed COVID won't hit us as bad this year and we will get more of a stretched out, a normal calendar.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
So COVID... fuck off.
If we've taken anything away from 2020, it's COVID. Fuck off.
Yes, disappear.
So guys, what do you think? Listen at home. Will Tito perform better in World Superbikes than he did in MotoGP? If you've got an opinion on this, you can send it to us by...
We are For the Love of MotoGP. Find us on Instagram and Twitter. We have a Facebook page there. Give us some likes. Or email us, drop us a line at fortheloveofmotogp@gmail.com.
That's it. And if you've got any questions or anything, obviously get hold of us on all of those channels as well. And we do try and reply to everything. And we often read them out on the show. So that's nice too.
Do our best to answer.
That's nice too. That's a weird thing to say.
That's that cider kicking in.
That is that cider kicking in, mate. So guys, please, if you've got this far, do us a solid. Leave us a rating. Leave us a review wherever you're listening. It does really help. And until next time, guys, thank you very much for listening. So stay safe, fist bumps, elbow bumps, and remember, mask it or casket, guys. Look after each other, look after yourselves, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Take care, guys.
Music is by Andrew Greenwood. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.